grab your drink of choice because it's time for a ChinWag.
Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about whether AI will kill creativity.
Ooh, interesting topic.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
I think, there's a lot of chatter about it in the industry. Because I think a lot of people use it for like inspiring different ideas for different pieces of work. I suppose it does like pose the question, is it getting rid of your creativity? Because you're not actually thinking from the offset of like trying to come up with those ideas. Like you're using a tool to help that.
Interesting. I guess that comes down to like where people define the point of creativity, right? Like, is it the outcome or is it from the idea stage? Can it be halfway through? I think it can.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, obviously on social media, we want to be creative. We can work with the AI to come up with ideas that even probably like are backed by data or whatever to get to a creative place still.
Yeah. And I also think like ChatGPT or whatever you're using is never going to come up with a fully formed idea that's perfect for your client or whatever you're working on. Like there always has to be some human element to it. Like using it for prompts for ideas, like especially when you've got like creative block and you're just hitting a wall and you just cannot think of anything. Like I think it is good to like prompt you to start thinking outside of the box or something.
Yeah, that's so true. Because like, imagine you had a creative block. You go to Google, you start typing in some words, you start to get inspired. That's not taking away your creativity. And this is literally that if you're using ChatGPT. Right?
Yeah. And I think it's so true what you say, because people look at inspiration as well to get ideas. So that's not cheating or losing your creativity. Like that's just looking at past examples to try and come up with your own like newer version.
Yeah. Don't they say there's no such thing as a new idea?
Yeah.
What do you feel about that?
I think it's so true. Like when I'm working on like digital PR campaigns, like often you come up with an idea. It's happened so many times to me recently. And then you'll Google it and you'll find someone's done it like 2 weeks ago and it's literally the biggest stab. But sometimes you'll Google and it will show that someone did that the same time last year. So then that's okay because you can refresh it and it's like more current.
Put your spin on it.
Yeah.
I think one of the main concerns from the creative industry is like, is everything going to end up looking the same? Like so less so using it for inspiration and more so using it for like the actual output, which I don't know, I could hear those concerns, like if everyone's using the same tools. But then I had a revelation. Surely like artists, like actual like people who use paint, for example, when like Adobe and Photoshop and all of that came out, they're probably thinking like, this is killing creativity. People are being given tools that aren't traditionally, or like help them some aspect versus doing it all from scratch. So is this just the next evolution?
An extension, yeah. I think that's so true. And I think like thinking about the AI that's integrated with Photoshop and how like Luca did an example for me recently, like we took one image and then just manipulated the face of that image. So you've always got to have that starting point. And then I suppose it's almost like you're putting that prompt in to edit that image how you want it to look like. So I think, it's all a bit of like swings and roundabouts. Like I think you are still being creative because you're putting in those prompts.
Yeah. But then I guess like, where's the line in a way? Because I was reading something about, someone had taken Drake, the singer's voice, and like, made an AI that sounded like him and then like released a new song, quote unquote, like from him that then started doing really well on social media or something. And then it like wasn't from him, but they've taken his voice and his style, but technically that they own that because they created that, but actually
surely that is like a legal case.
Potentially, yeah. I don't know.
Like taking someone's voice, like I think that's what we need to be so careful with AI as well, is like copyright and like the actual law logistics behind it. So we were talking as an agency the other day, like those images you create on like Midjourney, for example, anyone can use those. Like it's not copyrighted to you. So say if you came up with a logo or something and then you use AI to do that, like someone could just come along and
deal your logo. Yeah, that's crazy actually. That's a very important point, I think.
Yeah. So I think especially thinking about using AI to come up with creative concepts like images, drawings, whatever, I think you do need to be careful, but also develop like the output it creates so it is your own.
Yeah, agreed. Which is kind of like anytime we're using AI, we want to be doing that, right? We never want the final thing to just solely be AI. I suppose one thing to think about is like, we can only comment on what we're seeing now, right? But potentially, let's say 20 years down the line, when we have a generation of people who grow up using AI all the time, I wonder what the implications will be on the way they think and the way, because even now I'll draft an email, whack it in ChatGPT to make it sound better because I know I could save time doing that. So if you're growing up with that's how you think and creatively explore things, what is that going to look like? And are we all going to be thinking the same then?
Yeah, that's so interesting. Like the psychology behind using AI.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It almost makes me think, I know this is a complete contrast, but people using filters on social media and like that not being your true self, is it kind of similar to using AI all the time? Like you're not having, like you're not necessarily having to think really hard. Like you're getting a machine to do that for you.
Yeah, like it's not your thoughts or opinions, maybe.
Yeah. That's such an interesting thought though, because I bet like it'll be incorporated into schools and like you'll be learning.
Yeah. They have to, like how to prompt an AI really well. Yeah.
But it's also like, even with exams and things like that, like can't be cheating.
But yeah. What the hell? But with that one, I think that comes back to like, you just have to change the way the education system works, right? And like, you do a maths exam with a calculator, but that's not cheating. So if you just, and then it's less of a memory test because you've got the information in front of you, and then it's a test of like how you use it and what you do with it. So.
Yeah, I suppose it's just like everything, isn't it? Like we're just having to adapt. To using AI. I think another thing to think about is, like, obviously the question, is AI ruining creativity, killing our creativity? I think another thing to think about is that AI obviously really struggles with emotions and be able to show them or like present them. So if you're trying to come up with something that's meant to be funny or have humor, like AI will probably just do it in a really cringy way. Like it's really hard to like come across like human. So I think we'll always need that human touch.
Yeah, that's so true. Like AI is not funny.
No.
Like, God. And it's very much the same sort of formulaic jokes or puns versus like actually clever humor because you know your audience and you know what they're speaking about.
So it might be able to come up like with a really good idea, but then like we always say, you just need to develop it further so it's in line with your brand or the tone of voice or whatever.
But yeah, like we've got no idea what it's going to look like in like 10 years. So like who knows, like this conversation could be about a different thing altogether or people might be like, yeah, it's made us more creative or something. Like we just have no idea.
I think it's just important that you keep working with it instead of against it because it is only gonna help further improve our work.
And if you're not using it, your competitor is. So you're gonna fall behind if you're not, basically.
So HubSpot have recently brought out that content remix hub, which I think is quite extraordinary, to be honest, where you can upload a blog that you've already written and then basically ask it using AI to create like social posts, email newsletters, like a landing page, and it just churns it out. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think that's a bit like taking away the creativity of creating those different assets?
Yeah, I don't know, because like repurposing content isn't new. It's like we've not just started doing that because of AI, right? I think if you have a topic that's worth speaking about in any of your avenues of marketing, then you should be spreading it across all of your other channels, right? But I suppose maybe it takes a bit out of it of, like it doesn't necessarily tailor the piece of content for the channel that you're using, for the audience that's using that channel, if that makes sense. So like if I take a blog post and turn it into a LinkedIn post, it doesn't know exactly how I should be speaking to people on LinkedIn versus the blog post. But then maybe that's then when we come back in with the creativity and, as you say, like work with AI to get it to where we want.
Yeah, and amend it so it's 100% like what it should be like on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if anything, that's just more efficient, making our jobs easier. So we've at least got a baseline to be like all of this content to work with, and then we can add the creative flair. And I guess like we'd still think about, which like are these hashtags the best ones to use, or which graphic, or should this be a video, or should this be a long post? Like, I don't think it's taking those things into account as well. Thanks for having a ChinWag with us. This has been a podcast brought to you by Wagada Digital.
Make sure to follow us on socials at Wagada Digital, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.